Do you have the slides now?
Yes, sir. We have the slide. Psychologists don't have the
Okay.
slide.
So we'll just start easy. Again, I will expect or encourage you rather to make sure you have your biro with you, your notebook with you, because we have so much to cover today. And the slides would not say perfectly everything. So I plead with every one of you to be attentive and to be very, very fast with note taking. So get set. I'll give you 1 minute to tidy all of that because I will start very soon. That is, you have your biro, you have your paper, notebook, so that we can start. Are you set? Are we set now? Are we set? Okay. If we are set, it's nice for you
Yes, sir.
to. Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
So today we will be talking about one important topic, techniques of inquiry, methods of inquiry in psychology. That's what we are looking at. And you need to be very, very attentive so that you can be on top of everything we need to discuss today. The manner by which we have information in psychology is basically what I want to talk about today. In other words, how do we have the basic information upon which we assess, upon which we measure, upon which we evaluate, upon which we predict, upon which we control behavior. That's what we want to talk about today. And I will wish that you are attentive, and apart from being attentive, you can, at the same time, if possible, at the end of this class, time permits us, we will need to take question and answer session. So, so get set. Basically, of course, we've defined psychology for today, and when we're defining psychology, we have many approaches by which we define psychology. But basically, psychology is about the behavior of human beings and also animals, not just about the behavior of human beings and animals. We are also mindful of the mental processes when we're talking about psychology. And we're talking about mental processes. We're talking about the manner by which even covert behaviors, many of those things you can see physically, many of those things that oftentimes we as psychologists are interested in assessing, in measuring. So today we will look at one of those things, and the methods by which we gather that information. That's what we will look at basically, and that's why we said that we'll be looking at that topic: methods of inquiry, methods of investigation, methods of gathering data in the domain of psychology. Basically, there are myriad of methods by which we can approach this. In other words, there's no strict method by which we can approach this topic. If you pick many textbooks, you'll find different approaches. So, but for today, we'll look at the meaning, goals of psychological inquiry, steps in conducting research, and methods of conducting data. So we begin by defining research, and I want to believe that we are not hearing the word research for the first time. So, but it's nice for us to have a working definition of research. When we talk about research, what are we really talking about? Is the systematic investigation into and study of materials and sources in order to establish facts and reach new conclusions. So you can see the first word here, which is systematic investigation. And the systematic investigation means step-by-step approach by which we gather information. Okay, and we investigate materials, we investigate sources, and what are we looking for? We're looking for facts. so that we can arrive at new conclusions. Some others can also define research as an activity of systemic inquiry that seeks answers to a problem. And of course, for every research, most times there's a research problem upon which we are seeking uh, answers empirically to be able to find solutions to some of those questions. Of course, again, it can be systematic investigation. Look at the word systematic resonating again. I mean, coming up again. It's a systematic investigation, including research development, testing, and evaluation designed to develop or contribute to generalizable knowledge. What do you mean by generalizable knowledge? Generalizable knowledge means knowledge that you can uh, transfer from one area and make use of it in other areas, or knowledge that you can adopt or adapt or apply from one setting into a different setting. I mean, that's making it from a point of specific to a point that is general. So some people also will say psychological research is conducted for the purpose of description, prediction, explanation, control of behavior, and application of knowledge generated in an objective manner. So psychology deals with objective information. So when we now talk about research design, because research design is the mechanism by which we put all the structures of gathering that information together. Every technique by which you achieve that is under the big umbrella called research design. So what do we mean by that? Is the framework of research methods and techniques chosen by a researcher. And the design allows researchers to hone in on research methods that are suitable for the subject matter and set up their studies for success. So we are saying for each research question, there's a specific mechanism by which you can put up a framework or a method or a technique of finding answers to that kind of a question. For example, if a question desires to find a cause and effect relationship, many times studies may not be able to do that efficiently. Research that are experimental, they are able to establish cause and effect relationship. Okay, and if you have a study again that is talking about wanting to study certain characteristics of people over a long period, experimental research may not be able to do that. But what we call longitudinal design, longitudinal research methods may help us to achieve that. So it depends on what kind of problem that we are talking about before arriving at what kind of design would be most suitable. So I want to talk about goals of psychological inquiry. Why do we really do psychological inquiry? Like any scientific research, the goal, the focus of psychological inquiry is to describe explanations to what is happening, and probably to inquiry also could be to control behavior. And apart from that, it could be a mechanism by which we apply knowledge so generated in an objective manner to other related fields, in other fields that are similar. Now we talk about goals of psychological inquiry. Basically, I've tried to now break what I mean by each of those terminologies. Description means to describe the behavior or a phenomenon. We want to situation that scientific so that we do not confuse the larger public. And this is in distinguishing a particular behavior from others. When we are able to say, for example, when someone is depressed, there are certain descriptions that we are going to find in the life of that kind of a person. That kind of person may have what we call psychomotor retardation. That kind of a person may have sleep disorders, mental, apathy, desire not to even be moved. Okay, so when we begin to see such things in someone who we think has depression, then we are saying this is something we just need to work on. Or we're talking about mental retardation. The level of the mental retardation will determine whether it is mild mental retardation, to describe whether it is mild, whether it's moderate, whether it's severe. Okay, so just like also talking about near, blood pressure, which you must have had before, for you to describe, the features of someone who has blood pressure. One of the major things you want to do is to ensure that you check the blood pressure, maybe using a sphygmomanometer. When you do that, you're able to quantify the systolic blood pressure you compare it with the diastolic, and you compare with the age and the gender of that kind of a person. By the time you describe all those phenomena, then we can arrive at whether this person is really, hypertensive or not hypertensive. Is anyone still hearing me? Am I audible? Are you following me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But you
Okay,
are
good.
moving too fast a little bit, sir.
Because we are going to see very far.
Sir, we
So
need the
the next,
slide.
Sir, please,
Sir,
there's
yes,
no
please.
audible.
Sir,
go.
some of us haven't gotten the slide.
Yes, sir.
Um,
Nursing
okay,
department.
okay, just hold it. Somebody will send it. Send your WhatsApp number to the rep of psychology now, because I can't break this lecture at this point. Send your the rep of
Okay, sir.
nursing should send his WhatsApp number to the rep of psychology, and in less than 2 minutes you will have it, because I don't want to break from this cycle anymore. So basically, we are talking about description prediction. Prediction means if you're able to describe a behavior very accurately, it makes us to have relationship, to know relationship about a particular behavior, to be able to compare with other types of behavior, events, or phenomena, and we can then forecast that under certain conditions, this particular behavior may occur within a certain margin of error. In other words, if you can say consistently, this is the behavior or characteristic of a specific individual, and that kind of behavior resonates often and often. In other words, it keeps happening. You can readily guess that if it has happened 7 out of 8 times, before you get to the 10th time, that behavior may likely also be repeated. That's what we mean by prediction. Explanation, psychologists are primarily interested in knowing causal factors that make behavior to occur. So we don't just evaluate behavior. We don't just check, analyze, or assess behaviors. We also make effort to find out what are the causal factors. Why would that behavior occur often and often? And if it will occur, why would it not occur? For example, now you're in school, you are not having face-to-face interaction with your teacher. If you're the kind of person that will sleep off 20 minutes into a lecture, and there's no mother, no friend around you in your room to wake you up, if you keep doing that, you sleep almost 30 minutes into every lecture. It provides explanation to why that kind of a person may have a weak score at the end of the semester. So, because the factors that make those behaviors to occur, they are often resident in that student. In other words, maybe it's a lazy student that wants to drink Bonvita while lecture is going on, and there may be a bottle of Fanta by the side, another bowl of suya by the right hand side, and you claim that you are listening to lecture, and you are with one right hand tearing the leg of chicken, and another in front of you is bottle of Martina, at another angle is thick Milo that you have made into an afternoon paste. See, that kind of a person will sleep off. So we can readily see, because he does all of that, that's why he sleeps off during lectures. In other words, we can explain why that kind of a person will not likely concentrate, or may not likely get the best out of the lecture that he should get something from. So that leads us to goals of psychological inquiry. So I've talked about 2 attributes earlier, in fact 3: description, prediction, explanation. I want to talk about control now. If you're able to explain why a particular behavior occurs, you can control that behavior by making changes in its antecedent conditions. That is, if you know those things that make those behaviors occur, you can work ahead of time to ensure that those things that will cause that behavior to occur, if it's a bad behavior, you want to stop those causal factors. But if it's a good behavior, you want to reinforce that motivating factor so that that behavior will be repeated. Control refers to 3 things: making a particular behavior to happen,